everyone, so today I thought I would do a little video of all the books that I have read. I thought today, to get you up to date, there isn't many, there is literally 14. I've read 14 books in my life, 13, I'm in the middle of the 14. I have not read a lot of books. I don't know the exact order that I read these in. I'm just gonna read them in the order, they're roughly in the right order. First book I read, which I think was the first book I read, I'm not certain, was The Duke and I in the Bridgerton series, because I had watched the show. Had I watched the show and then I read the book? Yes. So I watched the show, the first season, then I went and bought the first 4 books like in a set. I am also going to tell you my ratings for all these books that I've read as well. Now what you have to remember, these ratings are for how I felt at the time. They're not necessarily how I'd rate them now, but it's how I rated them at the time, so that's why I'm sticking to that. The Duke and I, like, I'm going to give you like little rundowns, but obviously I read that like 3 years ago, so I don't exactly remember. But what I do remember about that is because I watched the series first, I remember reading the book, there was a lot more I liked about the series, because I think when you, whatever one you watch first in any scenario, whether it's films or series or books, the one you watched first is the one you prefer because it's the one you know. It's hard to not compare to that. I did give The Duke and I 4 stars, so I did really like the book, and if I remember correctly, there was bits in the book that I did prefer to the show, but I don't remember much about the book. Second book I read was The Viscount Who Loved Me, which is also Bridgerton. This was the second book. This is Anthony and Kate's book. I gave this a 5-star. I loved this book. It is genuinely one of my favourite books I've read. I just loved it. I did not like the second series of the show as much as the book. There was so, if you've read the second book, it's so frustrating. The best scene in that book is the library scene, and they did not even, they did like a 30-second clip of it in the show. Like, the library scene was so important to the story. It was when like she was vulnerable around him for the first time and he helped her, and in the show they just skimmed past it. Also in the show they really focused on him and his fears and past and stuff, whereas in the book they also focused on hers. Like in the book it was about her being scared of thunderstorms because of when she was a kid, and I don't even think they referenced that in the show, and it's like that was the whole reason for the library scene, was because of her fear of it, and like they just ruined that bit of the show. But yeah, gave that 5-star, really liked that book. Then I read this third book, which is An Offer from a Gentleman, that's Benedict's story. I gave that a 4 stars. I really liked that book, and I am really annoyed that they have skipped his story and gone to Penelope and Colin, but I think the reason why they've done that in the show is because they don't want to drag on their story too much of like, will they, won't they, will they, won't they. So I think that's probably why they decided to do Colin and Penelope next, because if you've not read the books go Daphne first, then it goes in order of the age, so, but it's pretty much in the order of the alphabet. The series was following the books until the 3rd season. Now they've decided to do Penelope and Colin's story. The thing is as well, in the books it's a bit confusing because, spoiler alert if you've not watched either and you want to know, just skip ahead like 30 seconds. Obviously in the show you find out that Penelope is Lady Whistledown in the end of season 1. In the books you don't find out it's her until the 4th book, when it's her book. I'm pretty sure that's when you find out. 3rd book, I really liked the storyline. It was a bit like a Cinderella retelling, and I really enjoyed it, and so I really, fingers crossed, hope they do that in season 4 for the show, because I did really like that book. And the 4th book was Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Penelope and Colin's story, and that was 3 stars. I did not really like that book. I don't remember much about it, didn't really like it. That's also the reason I think I didn't continue reading, because there's 9 books in the series, I think. There's 8 siblings with a 9th book. I've only read the first 4, and the reason I have got up to like the 7th book, I think. And honestly, the reason I didn't read it is because I saw a lot of people online say that after Penelope's one, it kind of goes a bit downhill with the books. But I do like that historical romance, so I might read them. I do kind of want to read them. And I definitely will if they're going to keep doing the series for every single book. But yeah. Next up we have my first Colleen Hoover book. I think I read this first. And that was Ugly Love. This book, I gave it a 4 stars because I did like it. Maybe now I'd give it a 3 stars, to be completely honest. That book was so predictable. I think at that point, because as I said, I don't know if I'd already read the Bridgerton series at this point when I rated this 4 stars, or if I read it, I don't know which way around I read them. But either way, Ugly Love, I didn't really like when it did the back in time stuff. Again, spoiler if you've not read the book, I knew she was gonna be pregnant. Somehow she was gonna lose the baby. I figured it out. Everyone says that they're so shocked, they were crying. I guessed it. As soon as the book said she was pregnant, I was like, either the baby's gonna die when it's born and it's gonna be stillborn, she's gonna have a miscarriage, or the baby's gonna die when it's older. I predicted it. It was so obvious. Like, come on now. Like, are you sitting there telling me you cried at that? You didn't know what it was going to be? Of course, it was so obvious. So, yeah. I gave it 4 stars, but I think it was more like a 3 stars. I did like their relationship, but yeah, it wasn't that great. It was very predictable. Then we have It Ends With Us, which I gave a 5 stars. I actually don't know why I gave it 5 stars. I really should have given it a 4 because Ugly Love should have been a 3 and I think It Ends With Us should have been a 4 because I actually did really like It Ends With Us, but I hated all the Ellen stuff. So I don't know how I could have given that 5 stars when I hated the Ellen stuff. I know a lot of people don't like that book. They see it's like, oh, it's a romance book, but like at the end of the day, it is a romance book just based on abuse. Like, it's not about their romance, it's about her and Atlas. So it's like, it's, you know, do you know what I mean? I did like it. I do like that type of storyline when it's like, this is very light. I'm saying this very lightly, like the damsel in distress storyline. Like, I do like that sort of stuff. Like, I personally really liked Elena in Vampire Diaries. I liked that whole damsel in distress having to be saved thing. I prefer that, honestly, to the whole like independent woman. Like, I'd rather her be saved. So I did like the storyline. Obviously it has a deeper meaning and everything, but I did like the story. Like, I do think it was good. Then I read The Hating Game and I gave this a 4 stars. I personally really liked this book. I also watched the film for this and the film missed out one of my favourite scenes. Again, I love that whole damsel in distress thing, and I liked it when he helped her when she was ill and stuff, and I feel like they skimmed past it in the film. And I love Lucy Hale. Like, she was really good for the role. But yeah, I liked the book. I know a lot of people say it wasn't that good, but I quite liked it. It was that really simple, like, enemies kind of to lovers vibes. Like, I quite liked it. I thought it was very simple, very easy, you know. And then we have The Fine Print. Funnily enough, I feel like I have a different opinion to a lot of people on this book series. I gave The Fine Print 5 stars. It was by far my favourite of the 3 books. I've seen online everyone loved Terms and Conditions. When I read Terms and Conditions, I instantly knew I preferred The Fine Print. I think The Fine Print was such a... I think I preferred the characters in The Fine Print. I liked how it was like the enemies to lovers kind of vibes again, like workplace. Like, I did like that, like, again, that they had between each other. And I did really love The Fine Print. I really enjoyed those characters and the storyline. I just really really liked that the most. I just think it was the best out of the 3 books. Then I have Terms and Conditions. I gave that a 4.5 because I did also like that story. I liked the characters in that, but I didn't like it quite as much as The Fine Print. Like, there was slightly something that wasn't as good, but I still really liked it. But yeah, not as much. Then we have The Final Offer, which I gave 4 stars. Again, I really liked this book. I really liked the characters, but to me, it was just slightly too long. I don't think it needed to be that long because the book did not have much to it. There wasn't much substance for how long the book was. It was very much just like, she got annoyed at him, he did something bad, he left, he came back, she got annoyed. Like, it was just a bit of a circle. I liked it, but it didn't keep me like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, the other ones, I really loved them. The Final Offer was just a little bit boring and it was too long for what the story was about. Then we have The Sweetest Oblivion. I gave this 3 stars. This is the dark romance, like that everyone knows, the Malice Obsession, but like that's the main one that everyone knows. Now, I gave it a 3 stars, and the reason I gave it 3 stars is because I didn't rate it when I read it and I don't remember how I felt about it. But I remember being a bit like, it was okay. Like, that's what I remember thinking. I liked it when I was reading it, but then when I wouldn't read it, when I wasn't reading it, I wouldn't really think about it and I didn't really care that I wasn't reading it. So I gave it a 3 stars for that reason. But maybe if I was and I think I read it over like a couple of months. So I think if I had read it maybe more in a quicker time, I might have given it like a 4 star, but I don't remember loving it. And I don't really remember much about it. I remember little bits and bobs, but yeah. Then we have It Starts With Us, which was a 3 star. That book was nothing like I wanted it to be. I think it was crap. Not crap, it was still 3 stars. It was just meh. Like, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was meh. Like, that's why it's got 3. If you sit there and tell me you liked that book, you're boring. As I said, I really liked that whole damsel in distress vibe, and It Starts With Us was so lovey and boring. And I think the thing is with books is I need something that's like, once they're in love, it's boring. Like, I need the build up. Like, the in love stuff's boring. I wanted it to be like not abused her, but wasn't a good person still. And I feel like in the second book he was trying to redeem himself and it was just so boring. I wanted him to still be a bad person. And then finally, the book I've read is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this book. It was so simple yet so sweet. It's made me realise I do really like the small town romances. I just think it was so cute. I loved it. It was one of my favourite books I've read. All the books I've given 5 stars all kind of have different vibes to them, which makes me know that I just love a romance. Like When in Rome, Fine Print, It Ends With Us, but it shouldn't be that, so I'm not really going to count that. And then The Viscount Who Loved Me. They're all the type of romance where hatred involved. Some sort of like don't like each other. Some sort of like grumpy sunshine. fine. I think that's my favourite type. I think I would find, I don't think I've read a Friends to Lovers. Oh, I have, isn't it? That's terms and conditions. I don't think I really like Second Chance because I think I like to see a fresh thing happening, and I don't think I find Atlas and Lily's story boring, and I also find Cal and what was her name in Final Offer, I found their story boring because it's Second Chance. It's like, it's boring, you've already got history, like I want it starting from the beginning. So yeah, When in Rome was just my favourite ever. I loved it. I'm currently reading Practice Makes Perfect. I'm like 30% through. A lot of people prefer this book to When in Rome. So far I don't. I prefer When in Rome. I like the sort of girl when the girl is strong-minded but there's still the element of damsel in distress. I also am in the middle of Big Nick Energy, which is a Christmas book, which was chill. I think I kind of tell I would give it probably like a 4 max, 3.5. I liked the characters, but it was very, very repetitive, and I'm only like 30% through it, so I'm just gonna leave that. I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna DNF it. I'll probably continue it at Christmas, to be completely honest. That is all of the books that I have read, so you are now up to date. So any books I do reading vlogs on, you will know. So thank you for watching. Let me know any books you have, like recommendations you have down below. Let me know any books you think are good to read on the Kindle rather than the physical copy, that's like, if the physical copy is like ugly or I just don't need the physical copy. So if you have any other recommendations, let me know, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.